All right, everyone. Hello, welcome back. So we are going to go over shapes today, both geometric and organic shapes, and then we'll eventually flow into positive and negative space. But first and foremost, we want to start with what is a shape. How can we put in words what a shape is? So fill out your paper along with me. So what is a shape? A shape is, you can say, a flat area surrounded by edges. So a flat area surrounded by edges. That's what a shape is. So for example, I have some shapes drawn out here. These are shapes. Oops, upside down. Triangle, rectangle, oval, circle. These are shapes. So it's a flat area surrounded by edges. What are geometric shapes? So like I said, we have geometric and organic shapes. What can be defined as geometric shapes? So geometric shapes are objects that are precise and regular, okay? Such as squares, rectangles, and triangles. So geometric shapes are precise and regular shapes. They are precise and regular shapes. So what's a regular shape? Give me an example of a regular shape. I just stated them. You have squares, triangles, rectangles. Those are 3 examples. All right, now we are going to illustrate some geometric shapes. Let's go ahead and draw in a square. All right, so we know what a shape is. We know what geometric shapes are. Let's find out what organic shapes are. So what are organic shapes? Organic shapes are irregular. So geometric shapes are regular. Organic shapes are irregular. They are irregular and imperfect. They are often curved, flowing, unpredictable, and found in nature. Irregular and imperfect. They are often found in nature. So, what are some examples of shapes that you can think of that's found in nature? When you think about what you see outside, what do you see outside? What do we see? This is fall season, so what do we see outside? What is the main thing that you see outside? Trees, right? Falling leaves. So an example could be a leaf. Another example could be raindrops. What about when you look into the sky? What do you see? clouds, right? These are all examples of organic shapes. Now, go ahead and illustrate some organic shapes below. It does not have to be raindrops or leaves or clouds. It can be something, it can be a flower. It can be, let me show you this. This here is an example of organic shapes, this notebook that I have. So these flowers are examples of organic shapes. The leaves, the stems, not the stems, but the leaf part, the leaves. These here are organic shapes, okay? So it doesn't have to be necessarily anything from nature. So for example, it could even be like a puddle of water. That looks like a puddle of water or something, right? Or a splash of paint. Anything. Remember, they're often curved. So let's see, a raindrop. There's a raindrop. Clouds. A leaf. So these are examples of organic shapes. Now, we're going to look at the art that I handed out to you and identify if it's organic or geometric or both, and outline the shapes that you see. All right, here we go. Let's look at the first image. So you have this in front of you. I want you to go ahead and outline what shapes do you see. Let's take a look here. So for my bell peppers, I'm going to outline this overall edge of the outside, the edge of this bell pepper, the green one. So that's as basic as it gets, right? Now, let's go ahead and outline the highlights. This here is a highlight. I'm going to outline this, all of that highlight there. If I'm going to sit down and draw this still life of bell peppers, I need to be able to recognize my shadows, my midtones, and my highlights in terms of shapes. Okay? Now let's see, it's another highlight. I see a highlight over here. So these are organic shapes that I am outlining, but they are also values from our value scale. And when it comes to painting, or even painting in particular, this is one of the approaches that I take as a painter. I identify my shadows, I identify my midtones, and I identify my highlights, and I go and I paint those in shape form. So those are some highlights that we notice, right? Where are some shadows at? Let's go with our shadows, our darkest points. I see a shadow here. Let me outline this here. Let me outline that little shadow there. I'm going to outline this shape here. Right? Here's a mid-tone. Well, no, we're sticking with shadows. Let me outline this shadow that's hidden between the yellow and red bell pepper. There's a shadow there. So I'm going to outline that in the form of a shape. Right in here, in this crevice, where the shadow meets the highlight, that's another shape. And I'm gonna, where the green bell pepper meets the yellow, I'm gonna outline that. That's another shape, okay? Matter of fact, we're gonna use some, we're gonna get some carbon paper. I wanna show you all how this works with drawing. Give me 1 second. All right, you guys, I have some carbon paper here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and outline these shapes. Let's go ahead with the yellow. So let's start with the highlights. This here is a highlighted shape. Remember, we're outlining the organic shapes that we notice. And we're starting with our highlights because it's the most obvious, right? Even right here at the top of the stem. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and outline the outer edge of this yellow bell pepper. Outer edge. So I have that so far. Now I want to look at my darkest. I don't have a lot of, my shadows are not that dark on here. So my shadows aren't too dark on this bell pepper. So, but I still can see them. Here is a shape right there. There's a shape for my shadows. I'm gonna say this is more of a mid-tone right here. I'm gonna just do that there. This here's another crevice that I noticed right here for a shadow. I noticed this here is a shadow as well. This here is another shadow. This here's another shadow. Now if I'm going too fast for you, just watch, it's okay. So I'm outlining some of the contour or the edge of this bell pepper, but I'm also outlining my shadows, my organic shapes that I noticed. Okay, now let's go to the red. Remember, I have carbon paper underneath here so that I can show you all how this is going to look if I were to do this freehand. All right, let's look at these highlights. The highlights are the most obvious thing to highlight on here. Let's go ahead, highlight these organic, outline the organic highlighted shapes. Here's another one. Okay, we have another highlighted shape down here, right there. And my highlights are not all the same level of value, and that's fine. I'm gonna still highlight them. Now I'm gonna go to my shadows. Oh wait, here's the stem, has a highlight on it. I don't have a very steady hand, you guys, so my outlines are not that great. All right, let me go ahead and outline my shadows, my darkest points. Remember, when it comes to painting this stuff, this is even drawing, you have to look at it in terms of shapes. Most of them will be organic. They are not clearly defined shapes, which I think kind of makes it challenging because our minds want to think of clearly defined shapes, and these are not that. So, just going in, there's a highlighting area on this. Now I'm going to go ahead and the rest of this that I did not highlight will be my mid-tones. This here, oh, this is another highlight I did not outline. This here's another one that needs to be outlined. This is a shadow that needs to be outlined. Okay, now I am going to show you all what this looks like. I did not outline the outer edge of this pepper just yet. I did this one. I only did the highlight and the shadows. Let's see what this looks like on paper. You see that? If I were to go and paint this, I know by looking at my here, let me go ahead and finish this. Let me finish outlining this. Just by looking at my original picture here, I'll be able to tell I'll be able to put in my highlights, my midtones, my shadows, whether I am drawing or painting. Now let's go ahead and add the shadows on the table, the cast shadows. We know these to be our cast shadows. Go ahead and put that in there. Okay, now I did not do this one. Let me do this one in pen. And then I'll show you all what it would look like. Now, this is how, if you were to pre-draw this out before drawing it in or painting, drawing in the shadows or painting the shadows in, you would always reference your image, your original image, but you already have the shapes down. You just created a whole contour drawing. Well, I just created a whole contour drawing of this still life. And just by looking at this, I can paint this to look like that. Okay?